When I tell you that every man is on the king baby or hobosexual spectrum, I am not even kidding. Look at this. This story is like next level of how a man who will not deal with his past and his trauma and his issues, and instead will just go to escapism, avoidance, do literally anything but work on himself, and instead pursues like ego, recognition, social capital, like whatever, at the expense of women. This seriously, okay, first of all, this story is thanks to Stephanie, one of my mutuals over on Instagram. She sent me this story and was like, this seems like a big king baby story, and holy crap. So thank you, Stephanie, fellow comedian, go follow. This story is about this thing in the New York Times that just came out, the man who couldn't stop going to college. And it's like so much worse than I thought it would be. Before I continue, please follow my Patreon if you want to hear more about my own personal stories, France, Mo's, creativity, healing, dating, like all kinds of stuff. I have a lot of fun over there. Please check it out. It's a link in my caption, and also make sure that you are subscribed if you want to see my stuff, and notifications if you really want to see my stuff, and comment, like, share, all that stuff. It really helps me. And anyway, thank you so much. It just literally hits on so many things that I talk about, y'all. Men just being so selfish and so entitled and wasting their talents, their ambition, their gifts, their drive for the wrong things. And then basically women end up always paying the price or enabling this crap. I swear to God, if he had just gone to a whole lot of therapy and really looked at this stuff that's driving him, but they will like do anything but that. People who pay the price the most when they do this, like even imagine being addicted to going to college. Like I've told you, men will use that addictive mindset and that escapism mindset. And patriarchy conditioned them to do this, okay? It's not their fault that they were conditioned to do this any more than it's our fault we were conditioned to enable this crap. That's why I want us to really focus on ourselves so that we stop enabling and even creating these man babies, blaming this on women. I'm just saying that we are active participants in enabling this system. And until we tap out and really start putting this energy towards, I don't know, other women, I don't know, all of the many women, for instance, who are homeless and unhoused because of domestic violence and all the things that men have done to exploit them and abuse them and destroy them. Maybe all that energy that we put towards enabling men, we could enable, like we could help each other so that we stop creating this. Okay, so Benji here, over 14 advanced degrees. Like, just look at this. We're gonna go backwards in a minute to what caused this kind of thinking in this man, and when left unchecked and continued to be enabled by either his mom or his wife or whoever is funding all this stuff and taking care of everything so he can continue to do this, and society itself. Society itself creates this. But first, let's just look at this. I also want to say that I actually have a lot of empathy for this man's origin story. Like, I get it. I'm just saying, like, it's not an excuse for doing this. Like, deal with your stuff, bro. Look at this. He graduated from Oxford in 97, Cambridge in 98, Stanford in 2000, Columbia 2001. College at Columbia in 2001. Oh my God. Harvard, Brown, Dartmouth, Skidmore. Sorry, my eyes are bad. Another Harvard doctorate degree, Ashland University, Tampa, LA. Why? You know what I say about men's hobbies? This is a hobby. This is literally like the most expensive hobby I can ever imagine. How is this man I still haven't figured out how he is funding this. I just want to also say what he was studying. Master's from Dartmouth, studied Iranian sociology and poetry of Robert Frost. Degree in international development, creative nonfiction and education, conflict and coexistence. Like, just look at all. He's currently working remotely towards a master's in writing for performance from Cambridge. What inspired all this stuff? I'm telling you, whenever you see an unhinged man, there's usually another man that he wants to be just like, but better than, instead of, finding his own way. This is why we need to stop worshiping white men, especially, white people especially, because this nonsense. Look at this. One of his favorite places is Walden Pond. Go figure. He met his wife there. So yes, this man is actually married. I cannot believe any woman would go through, actually I can. I've seen worse. What am I saying? Who am I to judge? I am literally I went through a bunch of crap with the dude too. Oh, we gotta heal our stuff, y'all, because we end up with this. It's easy to imagine him back in Thoreau's time with all the other polymathic gentlemen, perhaps by lamplight stroking their old time. Like, exactly. Well, this writer is pretty funny. I actually am curious what it would have looked like if a woman wrote this, because the thing that this article is missing is how the impact of this on his wife, how much she's doing. Other than that, though, this is actually really good reporting. Also, there was the gross privilege of all of this too. Like, it was addressed some, but consider like, imagine men just being like, yeah, I want to consider, the advanced theories of a life well lived. Like, men just, like, I swear to God, men have more time than any, especially white men, and the more privileged and the less, the less like, if they are cishet, able-bodied white man who comes especially from privilege, them just thinking that their time is theirs, that they should just be able to do whatever they want, what hobbies they want, thinking about life by a pond, whatever. While their wives work. The writer is kind of trolling him a little bit, and there's something almost anachronistically earnest, even romantic, about the reason he gives for spending the past 30 odd years pursuing college degrees. 30 years pursuing college degrees that have amounted to nothing other than him, like, being like a coach. I love learning. Bro, I love learning. It's one reason why I do this is literally because I get to research stuff whenever I find a topic I like. I love learning. If I could just get paid just to learn, I would. Why do you think most of my people, my friends, my mutuals, like-minded people, like, spend so much time on TikTok? Not because we're watching dancing, because we're learning. Learning is, but like, oh God. But look, the author's like, I love learning, he told me over lunch last year, without even a touch of iron. I've been pestering him for the better part of 2 days from every angle I can imagine to offer some deeper explanation of his life as a perpetual student. Every time I tried and failed, I felt irredeemably 21st century, like an extra in historical production who has forgotten to remove his Apple Watch. Okay, but like, seriously, you should be asking him, why are you doing this? Do you not see how up this is? Like, look at this dude. So the dude is smart, okay? He graduated with a 4.0 when he was 19. But behind every successful man, or he's not even successful, but behind every man who has like a Guinness Book of World Records or anything, any success, even if it like means nothing, is going to be a woman. And behind every unsuccessful woman is a man. One of my mutuals on TikTok said that. I can't remember who it is. I will try to remember that in my caption to tag them, but I have never unseen that. The more successful a man is, especially if he's married to a woman, you better believe it's probably because of her. Because she's usually making a bunch of sacrifices for him to have that. If she is not as successful as him, she is sacrificing. Hands down. Look at this. I believe people are like trees. I hope I am a sequoia. I want to grow for as long as possible and reach towards the highest level of the sky. Maybe you should grow in here. Maybe you should, like, grow doesn't just mean studying and learning stuff. It means self-reflection, being thoughtful of your impact on other people. Of all these degrees, did you never take a feminism class, bruh? How can you know so much and even study sociology and stuff and be so dense and so ignorant about patriarchy and power structures and privilege? Then he goes on this whole thing being like, it's easy to dismiss somebody like as a wacky byproduct of an empty system. And for the next few paragraphs, the author like calls attention to just how crazy the higher education is in the U.S., how it is. We've even seen like over a month ago how all of the protests at Columbia and all over the country and all over the world have been exposing that a lot of these universities, a lot of these prestigious, especially the prestigious universities, are using the money of these students to fund arms and side. And so that's why they were like, no, not with our money. We didn't sign up for this. Anyway, so there's all that context. Higher education literally going against like literally enabling some of the worst things happening right now in the world, especially in Palestine, but all over. It's like, look, he's run himself through that system over and over and over again. It continues to take him in. He continues to return to it for more. Just like an addict. I'm telling you, so many men just operate like an addict, even if they're not addicted to a substance or Please look out for this. Insatiable desire, never enough, never satisfied. This is not healthy. Like I'm telling you, you need to look out for this if you date men. If you date anybody, this isn't just men, okay? Definitely not just men. Definitely not just cishet men. But I'm telling you, if you are attracted to men who do this, you may need to do some more codependency work, because you will enable an addiction or escapism or something because these men would not, they thrive, with every king, remember I've said this before, y'all, with every king baby, where is she? Hold on. You have to have one of her. The people-pleasing, enabler, codependent, whatever you want to call, pick me, you can't have him without her. She can't exist without him. They need each other. So if you don't want to be her, who's just happy, works hard, keeps her mouth shut, bites her tongue, lets the king baby do just whatever king baby wants to do. I'm too lazy to put the puppets on. You got to fix her, because he is not going to change as long as she is holding him up. And that's why my main message on this page, it's not even decenter men. It is focus on fixing ourselves and healing ourselves, not fix. That sounds like we're broken. Healing our stuff that enables these power structures, that enables abusers, enables exploiters, enables the hobosexuals, the gold diggers, the king babies, whatever. If we do not stop enabling it, they will just keep doing it. Cut the source off. But a lot of us, that's easier said than done. And it takes, believe you me, I'm still unlearning this stuff, and I've been working on this for over 20 years. So I'm not perfect either. Work in progress, just like the rest of us. But at least I know how to be angry instead of being this all the time, and I let my anger be a compass as to what needs to be done and who I'm actually mad at, instead of taking that resentment out on the wrong people, especially as a white woman. The more I enable men, the more dangerous I become to society. Oh, look at this, y'all. In fact, there's reportedly only one person in the United States with more college degrees than Bolger, and the vast majority of those came from universities with whatever. But he's only, because he's 48, and the other dude is 83, he could surpass him. Who cares? Who wants to do this? In other words, he's on a plausible track to becoming the country's single most credentialed individuals, at which points perhaps he could rest. No, see, that's just it. He won't rest. It's not about, like, if he ever achieves this goal, which it sounds like he will, it's never going to be enough. Men who need validation, who need to like win something, to be recognized by other men, especially in order to get, because men's validation means that women have to also validate, like whatever it's never going to stop. That's why even if let's say this dude was like alcoholic or drug addict or something else, if he stopped drinking, he would do something else. It's like whack-a-mole. That trauma and trauma tied with entitlement under patriarchy is going to create a beast, and it is going to keep popping up everywhere, and you whack it here. Oh, no more drinking. What? No more education. But the fact that he's using education as escapism, and the same way, this is why I talk about marathon runners so much, y'all. Oh, they're running a marathon. How healthy. No. You do something this extreme, especially when we find out about his background, which I'm going to get to in just a second. It's not healthy. It's not admirable, and we should not be like rewarding this behavior. They're like, no one fully embodies the nature of elite American education, higher education day, and all its contradictions than a man who has spent so much time being molded by it, followed its incentives, internalizing its values. But what are those values exactly? Of course, they're often off-cited traditional virtues of spending several years set apart from the rest of the world, or Walden, you're going and thinking by a pond, reading and thinking, the chance to expand your mind, challenge your preconceptions, and cultivate a passion for learning. In this vision, eager minds are called to great institutions to reach their intellectual potential. And we know that these institutions can perform this function simply because they're called Harvard or Yale. Oh. So basically it's like, yeah, this may work for some people, but then they end up becoming like getting careers in consulting or finance. Anyway, it goes into more of this. I highly encourage you to read this if you want to know more about, like, it's criticizing the institutions itself and the elitism. And I mean, higher education is more expensive in the US than it has ever been. I mean, my generation, Gen X, it was expensive, but nothing like this. And by the way, I met a friend, sorry, I didn't meet a friend. One of my really good friends, his childhood friend, went to Harvard and got a degree, like a PhD in the very specific science and like research, and couldn't find a job and was literally working at Starbucks. And when I met her, I was like, wow, so like, when's that gonna end? She's like, I don't know, but I got hundreds of thousands of dollars in student loans and I'm working at Starbucks. So like, oh God, y'all. And when I worked in the film industry, I remember some of the electrics and the grips telling me how much money they make a day. And it was, oh my God, sorry, my neighbors just like poured water. Sometimes they forget someone lives down here. But anyway, the dudes with no degrees working in the film industry were like, why would I go to college? I would make way less money anyway, whatever. Just, God, y'all, US, it's like, I tell people in France how much it costs to go to school in the US. When I tell people almost anywhere, they're like, what? And then they're like, oh, that's why y'all are all in debt. I was like, yeah, that and medical, whatever. Oh my God, sorry, I'm gonna keep going. And then it's so funny how this writer is like, kind of trolling this dude. And again, I think if it was written by a woman, it would have been even harsher. But look, it's like, quotes Thoreau, it is only when we forget our learning that we begin to know, Thoreau observed famously from his experiment in simple living, though he went to Harvard. So then he's like, this Bolger dude, Benjamin, has spent the last 3 decades conducting his own half-mad American experiment in education. He has drunk deeper at the well of the university than almost anyone else. What does he know? And this is when we get into the backstory, what his origin story is. Because most men who are doing crazy stuff like this have an origin story, like Batman. Several of my mutuals made videos about how, especially a lot of white people, have some story from our past that we haven't dealt with, won't deal with it, and instead decide to be some like hero, try to save people, try to be a good guy. And it's all about our ego, because Batman was so privileged, had so much money, he was like a billionaire, and instead of actually pouring into his city, he created the Joker and like whatever. The villain, the hero needs a villain, or the hero is no longer needed. So instead of being a hero, people who don't deal with this, with our stuff, we are really not useful to the community, because we usually become ego-driven, self-centered motives like Batman. Batman is trash. Batman sucks. If he'd ever just dealt with his trauma of his parents getting unalived, like, you know what I mean? This is like Batman right here, except he's like not even fighting any, like he's not helping anyway, but he thinks he is. This is the delusion that comes with this much privilege and ignorance and like good intentions without any real understanding of your privilege. It's like pointless. Anyway, let's look at his story. 1978, he was 2. So this dude is just a little bit older than me. Riding in the back of a Buick Riviera, and when the car was hit by a drunk driver. Actually, I took this from his own website because it's a little more detailed. Drunk driver was going 90 miles an hour. The 2.5-year-old, I was left with almost without parents. Following the accident, my parents were rushed to the emergency room and placed in intensive care, where doctors gave them limited hope for survival. They basically survived, but nevertheless, as a child, I watched my parents suffer through extensive physical rehabilitation. I also learned a much broader lesson: life is fragile and fleeting. And then he talks about how this drunk driver was a repeat offender and like the system that allowed this man to keep driving without consequence, blah, blah, blah. And I agree. When I lived in New Mexico, there was a drunk driver who unalived a whole family with small children, and he had 17 DUIs and still had his license. The reason I know that is because as a server, I had to learn all this stuff, and then I ended up having to police people at the bar, and I could have gotten sued if I served someone too much alcohol, even if I didn't know their blood alcohol, like whatever. The whole system is so crazy. Like, you can sue somebody who serves someone, even though I'm not an expert on how intoxicated you are. Oh, God. But this is the part he left out in his own personal page that the reporter got out of him. So his mom, Loretta, spent months in the hospital, ending up with a metal plate in her leg. She had to leave her job as a school teacher. So his parents' marriage disintegrated after that. His mother could be difficult. And his father, an engineer and patent lawyer who represented himself during their nasty divorce, was emotionally abusive. Bing, bing, bing. Okay, let's just summarize this. Emotionally abusive dad, which emotional abuse is physical abuse, by the way. It makes you sick. Emotionally abusive dad, daddy issues. Leaves his wife, who seems to have been injured more than him. Shocker. Shocker. A man leaves his wife when she's sick. And then mom is going to go take care of this man. And we're going to see just how much she does. And then everything he does is probably going to prove to his dad something. I swear to God, so many men, the root of all their problems is wanting to prove something to daddy. Wanting to make daddy proud. We know that so many men, especially my generation, were raised without fathers in their home. Yeah, but I mean, we're like the latchkey kid generation or whatever, right? And this is why a lot of women my age are just so over it, because a lot of these men watch their moms work so hard to raise them alone, and then they expect their wives to do that same energy of working full-time and like catering to like their husbands who won't do anything because they're married single moms, or just doing literally everything without recognizing that those women had to work so hard because the men left, or the men were just gone, like abandoned them without actually leaving, and and the women ended up getting divorced. They don't connect the dots. So many times, so many of their issues really come down to, why did dad leave? Why doesn't he care? Why doesn't he want to be with me? And this is still happening. That's why women are like so frustrated with all these men weaponizing competence and stuff. They're like, you don't think your kids are paying attention to that? You don't think that impacts them? You don't think that that impacts the way they see men and women and just human beings, but especially labor? Patriarchy, just like all of these oppressive systems, really comes down to labor. Just knowing out of the gate that dad left tells me everything I need to know about why this man is doing this. Instead of facing with all of the courage it takes to face that pain of that abandonment from dad. I know I experienced it myself from my own dad, who left for an affair when I was 4, but cheated for like 3 years before that, before he left. I too have been dealing with that issue for a long time and had to work on it so that I didn't end up with someone who treats me like crap. So many men will just like justify everything they do. My dad left. Yeah, join the club. Like, look at it, face it, work on it so you don't keep doing all this. So also his dad was an attorney who represented himself during a nasty divorce, and he's emotionally abusive. How much you want to believe? How much you want to bet that his dad caused a lot of trauma to this family in this divorce? So they began splitting. Him and his mom began splitting time between their comfortable home near Flint and his grandmother's ramshackle farm. Cool, bro. Thanks, Dad. Look at this. The kid and his mom are like curled up by a wood-burning furnace, having to leave their comfortable home because daddy lawyer, emotionally abusive daddy lawyer, doesn't want to deal with them anymore. Maybe his life is fleeting moment that Benjamin learned is that, oh, I should just pursue whatever I want with not caring how it impacts anybody. Like, he learned that lesson from his dad. Look at this, though. Bolger's mother spent much of her money in the ensuing custody battle. This right here, these men used the courts to abuse women, financially especially, and her stress was worsened by her son's severe dyslexia. In 3rd grade, when he still couldn't read, his teacher said he wouldn't graduate from high school. Oh, great! Now see, this is like the missing piece. We have the origin story, and then we have the teachers who were like, "You'll never graduate high school," and now he's like, "I'll show you. I'll spend 30 years pursuing endless education and getting a degree at every of the elite schools ever so that you will take me seriously and daddy will come back." God, to me it's so obvious. Why does this man not connect his own dots? The reporter is clearly connecting these dots for us. Recognizing that her boy was bright, just different, his mother resolved to homeschool him, though home is perhaps not the right word. The two spent, look at this, y'all, look at this, endless hours driving to science museums, to elite Crankbook Academy of Art Institute outside Detroit for drawing lessons, even to the Smithsonian's National Air and Space Museum in Washington. At night, she read to him epic works of literature, War and Peace, but also choose your own adventure books and Star Wars. Like, okay, great. Look at all this stuff mom's doing. She's trying to this is, you know what? This is her trying to overcompensate for a dad that emotionally abused them, and also probably feeding into her own guilt that she almost died, like both of them did, leaving him without any parents. I see this happen a lot too. One of my friends, his brother died when we were in high school together, and that kind of thing does a lot to a parent and how they parent remaining children, or if they almost died, whatever. Like, I can see all this stuff. It all makes sense to me. But, the parent, but it's a little too much. Look at it. The pair passed days in the library at Michigan State Campus, watched campus speakers in the evenings, and ate free at the receptions afterwards. Oh my God, look at that. See, this is a single mom right here. Single moms, man. I will always defend single moms. Literally, I was raised by one. They know how to stretch a dollar. They're some of the best that know how to stretch a dollar, I'll tell you that. Penny pincher queen, which is an amazing skill to have. Rather than drive 2 hours back, sometimes they would sleep in his mother's pickup truck. Look at this. This woman was so insistent of giving her son an education and proving the teachers wrong and helping him believe in himself. He's like doing all this. They're sleeping in a truck. They wouldn't have to do that if dad was paying more in, I don't know, child support probably. Look at this right here. This line says everything. I saw the university as a home. Think about that, y'all. Tell me, like, this is what I've realized a lot of men are looking for, a home. I dated a guy very briefly who literally said this, that men see women as a home. The thing is that we have to kind of be a home for ourselves, because men who have this mentality, they're always looking for a home, a place that will embrace them, make them feel safe, make them feel needed and wanted and all that stuff. Not that those aren't human, that's normal, right? But men see women as a home. Men see any place of refuge where it's a home or escape, right? Like, I don't know, just tell me what you think about this line. I think it's very telling. Why would he ever graduate? If this is the place that makes him feel safe and meaningful and makes him feel confident, from coming from a broken home with so much trauma, especially from dad, why would he leave? What incentive does he have to graduate if this is his sense of home? He wore secondhand clothes and had only one close friend his age. There you go. Everything I talk about. Men have no friends and women bear the burden. Boom. Yet he felt he was on a grand adventure. This dude, he is like very ambitious and very smart. Graduated at 19. Like at 11, he was taking classes at a community college. Like, this is impressive, right? It's impressive. But like, instead of actually being a child and being a kid, he's doing all this, but then he also like never grows up. It's like both at the same time. But look at this though. He needed his mother to read his assignment text out loud. He dictated papers back to her. At 16, he enrolled at the University of Michigan, moving with her into an off-campus apartment. He recorded his lectures so she could listen to them at home. His mother still read to him. Like, what does she do for work? How does she have this much time? Like, this to me is so fascinating, because they're like sleeping on the floor next to a fire or sleeping in her car. She's doing all this to educate him, and this is so time consuming. What is she doing for work? How is she doing this? But look, he graduated with a 4.0 at 19. But that's not enough. It never is, because this is home, remember? So after that, he applies for law school because he liked Ralph Nader. His own dad sucks, so he's like, okay, this man will be my surrogate dad, surrogate hero. Look, it's totally tied to trauma. Because of Ralph Nader, whose crusade for safer vehicle resonated with him after his accident as a toddler. That's where all roads lead to childhood trauma Rome. Look at that. So because he did with good at the LSAT, he was admitted to Harvard, Stanford, and Yale. How is he paying for this? Yale Law School, he found the method his Bolger and his mother had devised to cover reading assignments fell apart. There's just too much reading. That's a lot to ask of her. All that reading, all this reading, she's got to do all this? No, thank you. There's so much of it. It was so detailed. Yeah, do you know people who have law degrees or who went to law school? My dad went to law school. Hated lawyers. He passed the bar just on principle. But this school almost like killed him because it was so hard. First year especially. From what I understand, all you do is study. You have no life. And by the time he graduated or passed the bar, he thought lawyers were like the most immoral people. So he refused. Maybe if he'd done the right kind of law, I don't know. So he went into accounting instead. Anyway, Bolger's age made him a kind of a celebrity on campus, and not in a good way. Classmates found him bombastic and insecure. Oh, that's a bad combo. He was 19, and I suppose he acted like it, said someone who was in this class. Sorry, someone who's now a professor. He failed 2 classes his first semester, then dropped. But then, of course, he can't actually not go to school because that's his home, right? That's his safe place. This weird limbo between childhood trauma and actually being an adult is school. That right there, if we have to summarize this whole video, that is why he's in school. He doesn't want to actually grow up and be an adult man, so he's in this like king baby holding pattern. How many men do you know like this? I know so many women, their boyfriends or husbands, instead of actually working and taking chances, they just keep getting one degree after another that she's paying for, but then don't actually do anything with that degree, which is, again, the king baby holding pattern. I literally just came up with that. Should I use that? I like it. Then he's like, I know, I'll go to Oxford. So he moves to England. Let's keep going to school. There he thrived under a different kind of system, which reminded him of his homeschooling from mommy. Then he just kept going, embarking on an odyssey. Y'all, the way men all think they just have this right to an odyssey is fascinating. Men always get this right to have an odyssey. They're on their grand adventure of life. Women are not afforded that. And especially the more marginalized you are, more screwed you are by these systems, the less you are entitled to an odyssey. But I swear, men need to stop reading those books, because a lot of them don't ever end their little adventure. And they've got women back home funding them. Go find yourself. And yet they never do, because they don't do the hard work, the inner work. I'm not saying that travel and this is not an anti-travel, anti-adventure. Literally, I'm like the queen of it. But I understand this mentality. I did this on some level, but what I didn't do was have a man funding it. I didn't have a man sacrificing so I could do it. That's the difference. That's why I criticize these climbers and van life dudes, because a lot of them, even the grizzly man, that dude who got his girlfriend eaten by a bear, he had women working behind the scenes, enabling that entitled, crazy adventure that made him feel important. He never resolved any of his issues, and then he got himself and his girlfriend eaten in the most horrific way by a bear, because she trusted him. She trusted his vision, supported his little odyssey. His I need to feel like I'm important somehow. I'm like the bear whisperer. But in the end, he didn't know crap about bears. All he did was cause so much harm to that whole community, to the bears, and to all the women he was exploiting while doing his adventure. So I'm not anti-travel, anti-adventure, anti-finding yourself. I think especially women should spend a lot of their 20s doing what men are doing, finding ourselves. But unlike men, we don't do it on their backs. We don't expect them to pay for it. We don't expect to have children and and partners and people at home waiting for us to just find ourselves. We have been taught to take care of ourselves, and men have not. Most men under patriarchy will not take care of themselves. And their refusal to learn how to or even try is why we are suffering so much. So I'm not putting any more resources in towards men's character arc, because we are the ones who pay the price for every lesson they learn. And financially, we take a hit every time. Bare minimum, because of all the time and labor that we are giving to them while they're on their little self-discovery, whatever. And if they're reckless and get injured because they're climbers or want to do something crazy or motorcycle, then we're the ones who are going to nurse them back to health and take care of them for the rest of their lives. Seriously. All their decisions affect us. And if we dare to do the same thing, it's not men who are going to take care of us, it's women. It's always women, almost always women. So his little odyssey through universities, elite schools, instead of, hiking from Montana to Argentina or climbing Everest or whatever. This is the same thing, different kind. Again, I'm not against that as long as you are not having women fund it. And paying for it, enabling you in every way possible. So then after that, he improved his reading. But he still leaned on his mother. He's still the only reason he's able to do all this is because his mom. So that wasn't enough. So from Oxford, he went to Cambridge, where he took a master's in sociology and politics. Dude, how can you know so little about people and culture and all of this stuff with a master's in sociology? How could you not question your own story when you know? After 3 years in Britain, he moved to California, where he studied for a master's in independent education from Stanford, and then quickly to New York. Yep, gotta go there. Got another master's degree in politics of education, as well as a master's degree in real estate development. Bro, what is all of this? God. Oh my God. Both from Columbia in a single academic year. He found time in the summer to work towards a master's in liberal arts from Dartmouth. He slept 4 hours a night. Oh, great. Now we have the intersection of all the things I'm talking about, plus the Elon Muskism, minus coming from an apartheid state and having an emerald or diamond mine family and all oh my God, don't get me started on that dude. This is not something you should look up to. Can we stop stop making this seem like a great idea. 4 hours of sleep a night. This is why you're making terrible decisions, dude. And he kept on stacking degrees. I swear to God, this is like such the colonizer mindset. I know, I'm gonna go conquer this place and conquer this place and put a flag here and put a flag here because I'm the king of the academic world. But I hate myself too. Seriously, this is what the climbers who are like, I want to do the next, I want to be the first to be the on-site, name the climb. But I'm gonna name the climb something unbelievably misogynistic, by the way. I swear to God, if you ever become a climber, you were gonna notice half the climbs are called like something. They're all about balls. Like it is so, men will, I want to go here and I'm going to name it and I'm going to be famous for this. Colonizer mindset. So then he goes to Harvard, master's degree in international development from Brown. Every time I see Brown, master's degree from Brent, I don't even know that. There's like so many schools in the Northeast that are like for super rich kids, like private schools I've never even heard of. That's probably one of these. I don't even know. Someone tell me. Do you know what this is? I am too lazy to look it up. I'm on a roll right now. And then he goes to Masters from Skidmore where he studied positive psychology. Oh, cool. So you studied psychology and you still don't connect these dots. God, any self-reflection would help you, bro. All culminating in his doctorate in design, focus on urban planning. Great. Why don't you plan urban places to be more like racist? I didn't realize how racist urban planning was until the last like 10 years, and holy crap, everything. All roads lead back to white supremacy culture, and especially anti-blackness in the U.S., I swear to God. More recently, Bolger done an MFA where he learned how to write a compelling narrative way. Why didn't you write this yourself, bro? Like, you're learning all these skills, but you're not doing anything with them. It's like all of this is for nothing. He's not even doing anything. And how to delve deep into different genres of writing, like, God, you didn't need to do all this. He has worked as an adjunct or visiting professor at more than a dozen colleges to fund his endless pursuits of learning. Okay, well, at least that's part of it. He's like worried that his wife is paying for all of this. Like, look at this. Wow. Wow. Like, y'all, seriously, this is like the Mount Everest version of king baby entitlement, like like hero. Look at me, I'm a little warrior. Have so much entitlement and privilege, and I'm just at war with myself. Like, God. One thing Bolger has not seemed to learn over the years is to introspect. I forgot the writer wrote that. Yes. Yeah, he trolled this dude quite a bit. Why has he driven himself to this extent to place himself over and over in the kinds of impractical programs young adults enter to wait out a bad economy or delay the onset of adulthood, a la National Lampoon's Van Wilder? Many of us love learning too, but we don't do what Bolger has done. We listen to history podcasts on our commutes to pick our way through long books in the minutes before sleep. Despite all his degrees, Bolger has never sought a tenure track job. See? He's in the king baby. I don't actually want to work. I just want to be like, I don't want to play baseball. I just want to be on deck all the time. Only a few of his degrees would ever qualify him for such a position, and he has never really specialized. Literally, this is all avoidance, swear to God. Escapism, avoidance, entitlement, those play into so many of men's decisions, yet they still don't see it. So then it goes more into like acceptance rate and how the United States' most elite university have shrunk to about 6% from nearly 30%. So it's also like, not only is all this stuff like so expensive now, they're also like so competitive. You know, like you have a 6% rate of getting in. And then on top of that, you have all this stuff. And then, you know, especially now that they're, you know, keep chipping away at, oh my God, what is it called? Oh my God, the thing where like you have to have so many people from, who are marginalized, you have so many women, you have to, like, what is it called? Oh my God, I can't look it up. Someone type it in, please. Probably when I go back, I'll edit it. The thing that tries to make it so that there's some sort of fairness in a system that is so rigged. No, we're trying to get rid of that right now. I mean, we already have, but like more and more. So what is he doing? He's like trying to sell himself as like a consultant or a coach to help people get into college because he's gotten into so many. No, this is what he says about himself. No other consultant has Dr. Bolger's record of success, reads his website, a claim that is difficult to verify, yet one that many people seem to believe. This writer, good job, look at you. 4 years with Bolger runs at least 100 grand. Oh, so this is how you're making your money now. Your dumb hobby, your dumb escapism is how you are making money. Preying on people who want to get into college. 100 grand to get this dude to teach you how to get into college? Where do people get this money? I don't know. Apparently this is a big thing. This is a big business for rich people. Like, anyway, so sorry for the noise. So he does all this and he says his business has enabled him to mix with the 1% crowd. Why do you want to hang out with them? I mean, besides access to power. Never want to be a part of that crowd. Sorry, I should clarify. I used to work with the richest kids in Hollywood. Some of them were lovely, but in general, like the 1%ers, like that world is terrifying. I was living in my truck, me and all of my coworkers, while teaching the richest children in the United States, some of them, how to climb and canoe and stuff. And let me tell you, that level of wealth does not make people healthy. The mindset of the 1%, no thank you. Okay, so then he like trolls them even more. He's like, he owns a house in Virginia and his family farm in Michigan. He has an Amex invite only. In 2000, he donated $50,000 to support Hillary Clinton's campaign. More recently, he has donated more than $2,500, bro. Don't be so cheap. I guess all these degrees are actually adding up. To campaign of Robert F. Oh my God. This is what we're getting. Imagine a man with that much education donating to this dude. If you do not know who this man is, I beg of you to Google. Normally Kennedy is associated with like a little bit more like progressive, but not this dude. Google his name and dead worm and brain. Look at this though. This is why you will never convince me that this man is not all about ego. It is not about anything but his ego. He loves to attend celebrity talks. Bruce Springsteen, George Clooney, Joe Montana, anyone who in his mind defines a category. But his most important pupil, shocker, this is gonna shock you, his 9-year-old daughter, Benjamina. This just screams narcissist. Can you imagine your father who does nothing but just go to school, is probably never parenting at all other than to like make you his little protege, his little mini-me, and then literally giving you this name. I'm just gonna call you my name with an A on the end. I swear to God, so many fathers, they only want a legacy. They want a mini-me, but they don't want a parent. It's not about love. It is all about like, well, I'm gonna die one day, so there better be someone carrying on my greatness. But I don't really want to contribute to anything to make her great or feel loved. So when he homeschools her, he considers her his best friend. Boom, another red flag. You're not your children's best friend. Whenever people say that, I'm like that Jessica chick on Love is Blind last season. Daughter, my 10-year-old daughter's my best friend. I hope you're not telling her, like, what? What? Like, I get it when they say that, but really think about that. That is not healthy. Either you are acting like a child, which he is, or you're parentifying, a child. Of course, he models his daughter's education after his own. Hands-on, interactive, wide-ranging, lots of time in the car. Now, he has a son, Blitz, what? And he's only 4. So Blitz will probably become his new obsession once the kid can actually like talk and read and stuff. I mean, a 4-year-old can talk, but you know what I mean. His wife, Anil, I hope I'm saying that right, helps him recruit clients, is happy to let him oversee the liberal arts component of their child's education. Okay, you need to maybe get help with codependency or something. She handles the math and Chinese. Okay, I have a lot of questions now. But I tried to look her up. I don't know anything about her. I don't know how he met her, but I feel really sorry for any woman married to this man and who insists that your daughter is named Benjamina. Look, he's trying to be less intense than his mother to emphasize the development of his daughter's emotional intelligence. How can someone with like very little emotional intelligence clearly be teaching your daughter that? I'm guessing mom is teaching her that. One of his main pedagogical, oh my God, now I feel silly, but I don't know if I'm saying that right, devices is still in the field trips. Of course, look, he's like, look at me, I'm a good dad. So this is his mom. This is the one who did all that reading, all that sacrificing to make up for the abusive dad that doesn't seem to have been a part of his life at all. Look at this, he's trolling him again. Thoreau's experiment made him one of the most important men in American history. Okay, I'd argue with that. Okay, all right. One of the only ones we are taught about. How about that? White men. His experiment has, well, not done that. Look at that. This author is like, what? Oh God, this is good writing, y'all. Instead, it is something even weirder. To spend any time around, oh my God, y'all. Oh, I forgot about this paragraph. To spend any time around Bolger is to feel that you have been enrolled in a bespoke man-shaped university, one capable of astonishing interdisciplinary leaps, and it basically all hangs together the way that any mix of freshman electives at a top university might complement one another, might rhyme, produce its own sort of harmony. It is unclear what exactly is at the center. Basically, he's like, yeah, I mean, this is all like kind of crazy, but like, what's the point? But there are gravitational forces at work nonetheless. Yeah, I could tell you what they are. Entitlement, unhealed trauma he won't deal with, self-hatred, need to make peace with his dad, make his daddy proud, and an astonishing level of self-importance. And way too much privilege. So then they go on to talk about her daughter and how exceptional she is, and she can speak all these languages, and blah, blah, blah. Of course, imagine the pressure she's under. This poor kid. Can you imagine having this as your dad? Like, I bet she's super smart, but imagine the pressure her dad is putting on her to be his little mini me. Like, I hope you change your name at some point. I mean, whatever, I don't know, but I would be so pissed if my dad gave me that name. So then they like end on this crazy story. On their colonial field trip, father and daughter had lunch at the Harvard Club. Again, this dude is obsessed with titles. That to me shows besides all the other stuff, he has so much unlearning to do. It's that hierarchical mindset. He wants to be in the 1%. He wants to have lunch at the Harvard Club. He wants to hang out with celebrities. Look at this. He had a BLT and Benjamina had a hamburger with fries. The meat arrived on a bun with an H. For Harvard. Do you think your burger looks better because it has an H on it, Bolger asked? Benjamina didn't hesitate. Yes! That's the end, y'all. The way that some of these journalists write these stories, you can tell, like, the subtext is so loud. So before I wrap this up, I just want to show you some of the things that I found in his photos. This is his Instagram, which is funny. He's like 586 followers. I would think for someone who just says that he's like best teacher or the best whatever he claimed, he would like focus a little more on your social media, bro. Maybe your next degree should be in social media. And like, you are not good at selling yourself. I mean, apparently you are to 1%, but like, who are these people? I can't tell from this photo. He didn't tag anybody. Look at this. He's like, look, I'm friends with these warmongers. Look, I'm friends with David Blaine. There's pictures online of him with Obama and with Michelle. Like, just if you Google this dude, the photos are crazy. Like, I am really bad at social media. Like, whatever, I'm learning. But like, bro, all those famous people you hang out, you rubbing elbows with, why aren't they on your Instagram? Oh, and by the way, David Blaine, I don't know if he still is under investigation for like, oh, these magicians. I don't trust magicians. Like, they're men. Make a living off of tricking people. Anyway, oh my God, y'all. Everything I talk about, not everything, but most things I talk about are in that story. Please do not be bankrolling these men. I heard someone say, I've heard several people say it, so I don't know who came up with it, but the advice was do not be a man's nonprofit. And that's, I swear to God, that's how so many men see us as. They're home. They're nonprofit. My mutual Therese, she said this term the other day, and I want us to all credit her for this, and I have never heard it before. Brocialist. So many of these men who think they're so progressive and are left-leaning and are all about la 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 la, they will not deconstruct patriarchy or even question it, or the hierarchies in these systems, especially when it comes to women. If you use that Brocialist term, please credit Therese, because I've never heard it before. And it's one of my favorite things I've ever heard. Anyway, thank you for being here. Please follow my Patreon if you want more personal stories about creativity, France, healing, dating, like Mose, who has, gone on strike for the rest of the day. Please like, comment, share. Make sure you're subscribed, because YouTube unsubscribes people all the time without them knowing. Hit notifications if you actually want to see my stuff. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. And I can't wait to read the comments section. Et voila. This is my thank you song. My thank you song. I hope you're writing a comment about my thank you song or the video or whatever you feel like. Et voilà.